One of the major phenomena in nature that shows life is contrast, like light and dark, men and women, predator and prey, etc. etc. In this video, I'm going to tell you how harmonic contrast is used in music to create life, motion, and emotion. When we talk about tonal or modal harmony, one of the most important contexts are establishment of tonality and modality. Beethoven uses the first bar to create a sense of tonal and modal space, which is the C minor scale. Now let's do a quiz. Imagine yourself as a singer that you're about to sing the final note and finish a piece in a concert that you're performing. If you hear this fragment as the accompaniment and you have to sing right after, what note will you sing to finish the concert? Well, if you sang this note, then you're correct. And do you want to know why and how you know this? Well, it's because we have three primary chords in the minor scale, which are chords built on the first, fourth, and the fifth degree. And Beethoven uses the chords of the first and the fifth degree to impose the tonal and modal quality of the C minor scale to the listener. And to top it off, he creates a bigger pull to the tonic by using the dominant of the dominant or the double dominant chord, which then solves to the dominant chord and creates this feeling of a cliffhanger. And the result of this chord progression is the creation of a tonic in your ear as a strong pillar in this music. When our key center or modal color has been clarified to the ear, we can use the other colors in our mode or scale to create motion and emotion. That establishment is done either by having a cadence, so creating harmonies that end up with the established mode or tonal center, or by using a melody. Now let's be a little bit persistent. Why should we establish the tonality and modality? Well, the reason for that is contrast. Contrast between all the intervals and chords with our key center, and contrast between the chords that are right after each other. Well, basically in nature and then in music or in any art form, one of the biggest elements that create motion and emotion in our brain is the contrast of material. In musical terms speaking, it can be tonality, modality, rhythm, pitch, texture, etc., etc. Now let's talk about contrast. Take a look at this picture. Why is this picture so striking to the eye? Other than the cuteness, of course. Mainly because of the two main contrast elements. One is the sharp, beautiful contrast between the color of the zebras and the green-blue scenery in the background, and the other is the striking black and white stripes on the zebras themselves. The colors of the scenery is very clear to the eye, and at the first glance you realize there is a green field and a blue sky in the background, which basically acts like a pillar for the eye. The zebras, however, are the subjects in the picture that capture the eye due to the contrast with the background. Now take a look at this picture. As dazzling and beautiful the picture is, the striking contrast of the zebras with the background is gone. So in a way it is quite different than the other picture. Although the subject is still the same, but is not going to have the effect of the other image due to its monochrome personality. Now if we want to make an analogy with musical harmony, we can say the scenery is analogous to the establishment of modality and or tonality of a phrase, and the zebras are analogous to a second phrase that will come after the first phrase, and it should have a clear contrast with the first phrase as well. Now to complete our analogy, we need some music as well. So the upper staff is representing the colored picture and the bottom staff for the black and white picture. And on both of the staffs we have phrasings that are analogous to the background and the subject of the pictures, which are the zebras. Now let's listen to the first one. Now, did you notice when the second phrase started, the atmosphere completely changes into a minor, more gloomy kind of statement? And that is because when I was trying to establish the tonality and the modality of the first phrase, or imagine if this was a piece, I used mostly major chords as my primary chords to establish my modality, which is major or Ionian. And on the second phrase, I only used 2 minor chords. And this will have a big impact on the listener after hearing the first phrase. Now imagine you're in a classical era where there's no recorders or mobile phones or radios. And you're listening to the young genius Mozart, of course. And he's playing one of his funky piano sonatas in a major scale. And just right that moment when you are soaked in sound and you expect a major cadence to finish the sentence, he tricks you and moves you to another dimension, which is the minor chord on the 6th degree of the scale, hence the name deceptive cadence, or maybe the 3rd and then a modulation. Now let's go back to the example. Let's try the second fragment, which was the analogy to the black and white picture. As you can hear, the second phrase doesn't really sound distinct from the first phrase, and that is because the harmonic content used in the second phrase was already used in the first phrase, which are the E minor and the A minor chord. The contrast is less obvious, and as a consequence, it has less effect on the listener compared to the fragment above. You see, before all the math and calculations in music, there is always an underlying logic, which is parallel to the logic in nature. And like the contrast of breathing in and breathing out is what that brings life in our world, both the natural and the synthetic world. Well, that's it, guys. And I really hope that you enjoyed the video. But before we finish, I wanted to tell you guys something, that as you noticed, I gave a really general view about color, harmony, and contrast in this video. And although I used scores and notes, I really wanted to shift your attention from the theory to the natural creation of motion and emotion by contrast, in something as synthetic as music. And if you like the video, please do press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. And if you have any questions or remarks, please leave them in the comment section. And until next time, see you and bye bye.